Are you tired of taking mediocre photos? Well, I've got some exciting news for you. One Habit's completely transformed my photography skills in just 1 month, and I'm pumped to share it with you today. Imagine being able to capture those breathtaking landscapes, all those precious family moments with crystal clear clarity and professional looking composition. Without this habit, you risk settling for crappy shots, missing out on stunning images, and potentially getting bored and giving up on photography altogether. Can you guess what the habit is? Well, drum roll please. It is getting into the habit of using a tripod. Now, for the past 30 days, I've been using tripods for every single photo that I've taken, and I'm going to walk you through the 5 amazing ways that I've found that the habit of using a tripod can truly elevate your photography game. Plus, stick around until the end of the video for a bonus tip that's going to help you capture memories that you're going to look back on for decades. So let's get started by looking at how a tripod can dramatically improve your composition skills. Okay, so let's talk about something that might seem a little bit counterintuitive at first. So you know how we live in this fast-paced, instant gratification world? Well, sometimes in photography, slowing down can actually be a good thing. And guess what forces you to slow down? Yes, our good old friend, the tripod. Setting up a camera takes time. You've got to extend those legs, make sure that it's level, attach your camera, and then you've got to get everything positioned just right. It's not something that you can do in 2 seconds flat. And you know what? That can be a good thing. This setup process allows you to really look at the scene that you are photographing. You start noticing details that you might have missed before. That interesting rock formation in the foreground, well, if you really take the time to look at it and then adjust your shot, you could add some great depth to your landscape photography. The way that the light is falling on your subject's face, maybe a slight adjustment in position could make all of the difference. And I recently got this somewhat cheapish geared tripod head for my tripod. And a geared head just means that you adjust these knobs here to adjust all the angles and to get your shot set up. And it is slow, it is cumbersome, and it is awesome. The geared head forces me to slow down and contemplate what it is in the scene that I'd like to include or exclude via just a few twizzles of these knobs right here. The geared tripod head also allows me to adjust and then reset my framing really easily and precisely. So I don't have to worry about making a mistake and then faffing around for 10 minutes to get back to the original shot that I had lined up. If I turn the knob 3 times in one direction to rotate the camera around this axis, if I want to get back to the original shot that I had framed up, I just turn it 3 times the other way to get back to where I started from. And this truly, more than camera and even lenses, this has been a real game changer for my own personal landscape photography. So the next time you're out shooting, try this. Set up your tripod, stick your camera on top of it, take a deep breath, and really look at what's in front of you. Slow down. Spend a little bit more time looking at the framing of your shot, and you might be surprised at what you discover. Now, let's look at what is probably the most obvious benefit of using a tripod. When I first started out in photography, I thought I was the world's shakiest photographer. I'd come home from a shoot, all excited to see my masterpieces that I created, only to find that half of them looked like they'd been taken whilst riding a mechanical bull. That might sound familiar. Camera shake is the arch nemesis of sharp photos, and it's something that plagues pretty much every single photographer at some point. But here is the kicker. A tripod is like kryptonite to camera shake. Think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to write a letter by hand, right? But instead of sitting at a desk, you're stood up. Then you start balancing on one foot and you've got the paper held out in front of you and you're trying to write like this. Your handwriting is obviously going to be all over the place, right? That is essentially what you're trying to do when you're hand holding your camera, especially in less than ideal lighting conditions, or what I face doing landscape photography is typically in the UK, just gusts and blasts of wind. Now, if you plonk that piece of paper on a stable desk, suddenly your handwriting is going to look like it belongs on a wedding invitation. It's going to be far superior. And that's what a tripod does for your photos. It creates that rock solid foundation that allows your camera to capture every detail with tack sharp precision. And I remember the first time I got out my cheapo, crappy tripod when I was shooting from a precarious slope on the side of a hill. As the sun came up over the hills, I was able to capture a shot that I just simply couldn't have got by hand. It was a total aha moment for me. It took what, 2-3 minutes to set up the tripod, and that gave me sharp, repeatable images that were near impossible to get by hand holding the camera. So if you're tired of coming home with a memory card of blurry disappointments, it's time to make friends with your tripod. Trust me, your future self will thank you when you're sharing an album of pin-sharp images that hopefully make your friends go, wow. Now, if you're enjoying these tips and you want to take your photography skills to that next level, I've got something special for you. I've put together a set of photography cheat sheets, including one all about getting sharp photos. It's packed with easy to understand information. Just click the link in the description below this video and grab your free copy today. Now, sharpness is just the beginning. Let's talk about how a tripod can open up a whole new world of creative possibilities for your photography. Picture this, you're scrolling through Instagram and you come across these jaw-dropping photos of silky smooth waterfalls or city streets with streaks of light from passing cars, or even star trails swirling across the night sky. You know all these epic photos that I'm talking about, right? The kind of photos that make you go, how the heck did they do that? Well, let me let you in on a little secret. It's all about long exposures. And guess what makes long exposures possible? You got it, our trusty tripod. Long exposure photography is when you leave your camera's shutter open for an extended period of time, anywhere from half a second to a few seconds, even to several minutes or hours. And this allows your camera to capture motion over time, creating those dreamy, ethereal effects that we all drool over. But here is the catch. Unless you have the steady hands of a brain surgeon, and even then, good luck with this, there's probably no way that you can handhold your camera still enough to take a decently long exposure shot. And I remember my first attempts at creating a long exposure shot. I was at this local waterfall, all excited to create one of those smooth, dreamy waterfall effects that I'd seen on the internet, and I bounced my camera on a rock. Not ideal, obviously. I set my 2-second timer, I pressed the shutter, and let's say that the result was, well, just the image was blurry. The composition was off, obviously, because the camera was balanced on a rock as opposed to framed up properly. And the image was just terrible altogether. All because I was too lazy to carry a tripod out with me. Fast forward a few months and armed with my new tripod, a new waterfall, similar settings on the camera itself, but oh boy, what an absolute difference. This photo is one of my favorite photos that I've taken over the past 12, 18 months or so. It's not the most original of locations, but I really, really like the shot. And here is an important point to lay on top of the habit of using a tripod. Invest in either a remote shutter release or start to use your camera's self-timer function when you take photos. This reduces the tiny amount of camera shake that comes from literally pressing the camera shutter button to take your shot. Even when your camera is sat on top of a sturdy tripod, you sometimes will still get camera shake when you press the button, especially when you're doing longer exposures. So if you've been yearning to add some motion magic to your photos, it's time to dust off that tripod and start experimenting with longer exposures. Trust me, once you start, you're going to be hooked on these kind of shots. Now, speaking of discoveries, let's talk about how a tripod can help you uncover the hidden potential of the gear that you already own. All right, so let's talk about something that used to give me nightmares as a beginner photographer: low light situations. You know, those times where the light is so scarce that your camera starts throwing a fit and it can't quite grab autofocus and you can't see what the heck is going on in the back of the camera anyway. Yep, there used to be my pack up and go home moments after shooting sunsets when doing photography in the mountains. But then I discovered the magic of combining a tripod with proper low light camera techniques, and it was like someone flipped on a light switch within my photography game. Here is the deal: when the light is low, your camera needs more time to capture enough light to create a well-exposed image. This means one of two things: either slower shutter speeds to allow more light into the camera, or using a higher ISO setting to amplify and boost the signal from the low amount of light that it's currently getting. But as you already know, high ISO can lead to more noise in your images, and a slower shutter speed, which we've just previously discussed, can lead to blurry photos if you're hand-holding your camera. However, with a tripod, suddenly those slow shutter speeds can become your best friend rather than your worst enemy. Think of it like this: trying to shoot in low light without a tripod is like trying to eat soup with a fork. Sure, you're going to get a few drops in your mouth, but you're going to be missing out on most of the soup, or it's going to take you forever to get it down. Using a tripod is like swapping that fork for a spoon. Suddenly, you're going to get way more of that soup in your mouth rather than down the front of your shirt, and you're going to be able to savor every last drop of that delicious low light atmosphere. I remember the first time that I shot in the blue hour before sunrise over in Whitby here on the UK coast. I was on a weekend trip. I lugged my tripod along, much to the amusement of my non-photographer friends. And I was able to take a shot whilst keeping my ISO low to avoid noise, whilst using a medium aperture to get decent depth of field, and then I could allow my shutter to stay open for minutes to soak in all of that beautiful low light to get a well-exposed photo. The result, a tack-sharp image with the magical atmosphere that perfectly captured the mood of that morning. So the next time that you'd like to shoot in situations where the light is low, whip out the tripod and start exploring the magical world of low light photography. You might just surprise yourself with what you can create. And talking of surprises, let's talk about how a tripod can help you capture some truly unique perspectives. All right, fellow photo enthusiasts, let's chat about something that can really make your images stand out from the gazillion images that are getting created every single day. And you can stand out from the crowd by creating unique angles and perspectives. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can't I just handhold my camera for all these different angles and perspectives that I want to take the photos from? Well, sure you can. But let me tell you why using a tripod can take your creative compositions to a whole new level. First off, a tripod allows you to place your camera in positions that would be difficult, if not impossible, to both get to and maintain by hand. Think super low to the ground, or precariously balanced on uneven surfaces, or even in positions that would give you a serious arm workout if you tried to hold them for more than just half a second or a couple of seconds. I remember one time I was trying to capture a well-photographed view in Rome in Italy. I got there 30 minutes before sunrise, and there was some loud American and his wife hogging the perfect angle to handheld a shot to get the perfect view of this location. I panicked for about 30 seconds thinking I'd got up early for absolutely no reason, probably woken my own wife up in the process, even though she didn't come out with me, obviously, because she's not a psychopath like us photographers getting up at 4 a.m. to take these photos. And then I realized, no worries. I whipped out my tripod, I placed it over the barrier that stops people trampling all over this awesome ancient site, and I got a shot that would have been possible to get by hand, unless you were willing to jump over this fence and break the law. So it's not just about getting the shot when you're battling with weird angles. A tripod can help you explore all kinds of different creative perspectives. So let me give you a few examples. First up, we've got high angles. So have you ever tried holding your camera above your head for an overhead shot? Well, with a tripod, you can extend it to its full height for a unique bird's eye view, or you can place your tripod on top of something else that is already high to get to views that your arms simply can't reach. You can also use a tripod for straight on symmetry. So if you want to get those perfectly aligned architectural shots or product photos, a tripod is going to be invaluable. And also awkward spaces. So if you're trying to shoot in a tight corner or just a plain awkward space, wrapping the legs of a bendy tripod like this around something and tying it and sticking it on that specific point can get you access to locations that handholding just wouldn't allow. So the next time you're out shooting, challenge yourself to find some unique perspectives with your tripod. You might just discover a whole new way of seeing the world through your lens. All right, here is the bonus tip that I promised you. Have you ever struggled to get a good self-portrait? Or perhaps a group shot where you as the photographer are actually in the picture? Well, this is obvious, but a tripod is about to become your new best friend. Set up your shot, use the camera's self-timer or remote, and voila, you are in the picture too. No more awkward arm extensions trying to get selfies or relying on strangers to take your photos. This is a total game changer for travel photography or even family gatherings. And yes, you might look like an absolute complete nerd walking into a family party with a tripod and a camera bag, but getting that photo on a proper camera sat on top of a tripod whilst everyone else is faffing around with selfie shots at arm's length where half the people are cut off and it's all weird angles and your iPhone or your Android camera is distorting everyone's faces. The photo that you get with a proper camera on a tripod with everyone gathered around is going to live on for decades and decades. And if you'd like to continue improving your photography results, why not click the video that's on the screen right now? It's all about mastering light to take your photos from nah, that's all right, to friggin' heck, that's pretty decent.